The fog never leaves this garden. After my wife Eleanor passed away, the silence in our house became a physical thing. You could feel it in the empty space on her side of the bed, in the closet still full of her clothes. I couldn't stand it. So I decided to build something that wasn't silent. I built her a garden. I poured every ounce of my grief into the soil. Every seed was a memory I was planting. Every flower that bloomed was a day I wished I could have back. And for a little while it worked. The garden was loud with life. Until the fog came. It rolled in on a Tuesday in October. A thick, pearly wall that just swallowed the world. And it never left. The silence came back, colder and heavier than before. And then, the silence broke. Whispers started drifting from between the roses, like secrets the fog was trying to tell. Section 1. The Garden of Grief. Eleanor had been the life in our home. I was the quiet one, the steady foundation she danced on. Without her, I was just an empty frame. The diagnosis was quick, the decline even faster. In the aftermath, I was just adrift in a sea of well-meaning faces and casseroles I couldn't bring myself to eat. My world had shrunk to the four walls of a house that did nothing but echo her absence. It wasn't just sadness. It was like the whole world had tilted off its axis and I didn't recognize the person I'd become. I was just stuck in a loop of despair. So I built the garden. At first, it was just a way to fill the crushing emptiness of the days, but it quickly became an obsession, a shrine. I tore into the wild woods behind our house, carving out a space that would be a living monument to her. I didn't want neat, tidy rows. I wanted it to feel like one of the Gothic novels she adored. A little wild, a little sad, and full of mystery. I built winding paths that led nowhere special, and a crumbling stone wall that was already half-eaten by ivy. I planted her favorite crimson roses, pale lavender, and irises so purple they looked black in the twilight. It was my sanctuary. It was the only place I didn't feel that suffocating weight, the only place I could almost feel her again. For the first few months, it saved me. I'd spend 12, sometimes 14 hours a day out there, hands in the dirt, muscles aching, mind blessedly blank. I stopped answering the phone. I didn't go into town anymore. The garden was my entire world. Then the fog came. This wasn't the gentle morning mist I was used to, the kind that burns off by 10. This stuff arrived like a tide. A silent rolling bank of thick, opaque white. It filled the valley, then it filled my garden, and then it just stayed. Days turned into a week. The sun was just a hazy, weak smudge in the sky. Everything outside my property line vanished completely. My neighbors' houses, the road, the hills in the distance, erased. The fog had this strange quality to it. It wasn't wet, not really. It was cool and unnervingly still, muffling every sound. The birds stopped singing. The drone from the highway disappeared. It felt ancient, intentional, and it had a smell. Faint at first. Damp earth and something else. Something metallic and faintly sweet, like rust mixed with overturned soil. Section 2. The Whispers in the Mist. The first time I heard it, I was pruning the roses near the back wall. It was a whisper so faint you'd think it was just leaves rustling in the wind. But there was no wind. The fog hung completely motionless. It was a hissing sound that was almost a word. My name. Arthur. I froze, shears in my hand. I told myself my mind was playing tricks on me. Grief does that. It makes you see and hear things. I tried to just ignore it, to focus on the thorns digging into my gloves. but a cold dread had already started to prickle the back of my neck. A few days later, it happened again. I was on my knees, weeding a bed of irises, when the voice drifted out of the dense white wall just a few feet away. It was clearer this time. A woman's voice. And it wasn't my name. It was a question. What grows without sun and is fed by what is gone? The voice was soft, almost melodic, but it had this chilling lack of emotion. It wasn't Eleanor's voice, but there was something in the rhythm of the words, a lilt that was painfully familiar. I scrambled to my feet, my heart pounding. "Who's there?" I shouted, but my own voice sounded thin and pathetic in the thick silence. No answer. Just the riddle, hanging in the air like the fog itself. I spent the rest of the day on edge, peering into the milky depths, my mind racing. It took me hours, but then it hit me. The answer wasn't a thing. It was a memory. The voices started coming more often after that. They never made conversation. They just spoke in riddles, their questions echoing from the hedges, the flower beds, the very air itself. I have keys, but open no doors. I have space, but no room. You can enter, but you can't leave. What am I? One would murmur from behind the old oak tree. It was always about memories. Always. The garden itself began to feel wrong. The paths I'd carved seemed to shift and get longer when I wasn't looking. One morning, I found a patch of flowers I'd never planted. Queen of the night tulips. Their petals so black, they looked like holes cut into the world. The fog got thicker too. It felt heavier, almost oily on my skin, and that metallic smell was stronger. Some mornings, the dew on the leaves was a rusty red. I knew I should have been scared. I knew I should have just tried to leave, to walk down the driveway until I broke through the fog and found the real world. But I couldn't. This place, this prison of mist and whispers, it was my reality now. The voices were my only company. I started talking back to them, muttering the answers to their riddles as I worked. A shadow, I'd whisper. A secret. A promise. They seemed to like that. The whispers would get softer, almost gentle before fading away. I felt like I was tending not just to the plants, but to whatever was in the fog. I was becoming part of the garden, a part of its decay. Section 3. The Riddle of Ruin. The big change came on the anniversary of her death, a full year. The fog was thicker than I had ever seen it, pressing in on the house from all sides. The windows looked out on nothing but churning, formless white. I hadn't left the garden in months. My face was gaunt, my hands stained with dirt. I was standing by the small stone bird bath at the heart of the garden when the voices started. Not one voice this time. It was a chorus of soft, overlapping whispers coming from every direction. And they didn't ask a riddle. They spoke a truth. "You weren't there," they hissed together. "You weren't there at the end." The garden shears fell from my hand, clattering on the stone path. The sound was shockingly loud. It was true. That final night, when the doctors said it was time, I couldn't do it. I couldn't watch the light go out of her eyes. I told her I was just going to get a coffee. I walked those sterile hospital halls for an hour, my fists clenched, my heart a cold stone in my chest. By the time I made myself go back to her room, she was gone. I'd missed it. I ran away. "You left her alone," the chorus whispered, the sound wrapping around me like a burial shroud. "No," I stammered, backing away. "No, I couldn't." The voices swirled, tightening around me. "You built this garden to remember her," they sang, their tone turning sharp and accusatory. "But a monument is for the dead. You started burying her before she was even gone." Then, a new riddle finally cut through the noise, spoken by a single, clear voice that sounded so much like Eleanor, it just shattered my soul. "I can bring tears to your eyes and resurrect the dead. I form in an instant, but last a lifetime. You use me as a shield, but I am also the spear that pierces your heart. What am I? A memory. It was always a memory. But this time I finally understood. The garden wasn't for her. It was a monument to my own grief, to my guilt. I had built walls of petals and thorns to hide from the one memory that actually mattered, my own cowardice. "What do you want from me?" I screamed into the fog, tears streaming down my face. The voice that was almost Eleanor's answered, with no warmth at all. "A garden needs a gardener. A memory needs a keeper. And a grave. A grave needs to be filled." Something inside me broke. The whole dam of my sanity just crumbled. I fell to my knees, not with sorrow, but with a strange, terrifying clarity. The riddles weren't a torment. They were instructions, an invitation. I clawed at the soft earth beside the bird bath, my fingers digging into the cold, damp soil. I had to get deeper. I had to find the root of it all. The answer wasn't in my head. It was right here, in the dirt. You know, the most terrifying stories are the ones that don't really end. They fester. They linger. They change you. If you appreciate tales from the strange and the dark, stick around. It ensures the whispers never fade away completely. Conclusion. I don't know how long I dug. The sun rose and set somewhere behind that thick veil of white. My hands are raw and my nails are broken, but I don't feel the pain. I'm not Arthur, the grieving widower, anymore. That man is gone. I'm just the gardener now. This is my purpose. The fog never leaves. It's a part of me now, and I'm a part of it. The whispers have gone quiet. They don't need to ask riddles anymore because I finally became the answer. I tend to the black tulips and the blood-red roses. I walk the meandering paths that lead everywhere and nowhere. I'm a shadow moving through the mist, a silent guardian of this place. Sometimes, a visitor wanders in from the world beyond the fog, lost and confused. They see the crumbling walls and the strange, dark flowers, and they feel a chill that has nothing to do with the cold. They see me standing among the roses, my face pale and smudged with dirt, and they ask for the way out. I just smile, and I ask them a riddle. What has roots that no one can see and grows larger the more you feed it with sorrow?